You are a unique individual with the power to change lives just by being who you are, sharing your wisdom, and telling your story. Welcome everybody to Jen's Pen Live, where we find interesting people who make the world a better place and ask them to share their story. Today, we are speaking with Ryan Dunphy. He is a guest speaker on time management. He is helping to get more done in less time in the corporate world. And he is also the director at the Speakers, Authors, and Coaches Network, which is where we met. It's a global network of helpful people out to make the world a better place. Ryan, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for being an amazing host. I got to see a couple of these different episodes. Everybody give Jen some love. These are so cool. And just thank you for being here, Jen. Thank you for having me on as a guest.
Well, so let's just jump right into it. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So, you know how everybody often says, you hear a lot of people say, well, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy for that. I don't have enough money for that. There's a smarter way to do things. I'm sorry, I thought I turned all my notifications off, which is part of what I talk about here. So let me just, come on, Mac. Technology is great, it works. Do not disturb. All right, well then here's our first lesson. So I call it moon mode because it's across all devices. Pretty much they always use the moon, but do not disturb. Setting that on your phone, your laptop, your computer, taking control of the dings and bings and bleeps and flashes in your life really helps you take control of pretty much anything else. So, we're dealing with a very old operating system here between our ears for the people that can't see me pointing to my temples. But we have pretty much attached to us all the time a smartphone, which, we're still, that's like, at max 15 years now we've been dealing with that. So we're still adapting and figuring out how to have that as a tool in our lives. And it can be like fire. It can be super helpful, but it can also be super destructive. So it all starts with awareness. We have to be aware of, all those beeps and off ramps and distractions and squirrels that are out there.
So true.
We got to tame some of those squirrels, tame some of those gremlins. And when we take control of our time, then everything else, all those variables can start to fall into place. For people to say, I'm too stressed out, I don't have enough time for this, I don't have enough energy for this. It's really, time management is what we use as the term in society, but it's really just energy management and activity management. It's how are you taking care of yourself and what are you doing? How are you spending your time? We'll get into how I got here in a minute, but just for those of you just tuning in, this activity hit me when I was working with a client a couple years ago. So for anybody listening, I have $24 bills here in my hand. So every day when the clock strikes midnight, you are gifted $24. So we're 24 hours. And a lot of people think, oh, it's so overwhelming for me to change my life. It's so overwhelming to do this. And I don't know where the time goes. How many of us have said, I don't know where the time goes? Well, let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for a sleep. Current life expectancy here in the US is 78 years, but you're asleep for a third of that. So you're conscious for 52 years, which is pretty epic awareness to begin with. And no, I am not glorifying exhaustion and not getting 8 hours of sleep, but it's just the awareness that you're really here for 52 years, even though you're alive for 78. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we are working for ourselves or working for someone else, typical American commute is 30 minutes each way. Currently, as we're recording this episode, some people are still working remote, so that one's a variable. 1 hour for moving our bodies, 1 for starting and ending the day. This can be your morning routine, evening routine, or that scramble half hour if you're currently in that mode. So now we have like $5 left. And when somebody says, well, I don't know where the time went and I don't know, how fast this week has gone. When you're down to that $5, are you giving 2 of these to Netflix every single day? And then you have $3 left. And with those $3 or $4 or $5, you got chores, you have to eat, you have to shower, to get ready to eat, clean up from eating. Spend time with friends, if you're spending time on social media, is that a whole dollar of your 16, not your 24, your 16. So it's, that's where everything starts, is the awareness and evaluation of how are you spending each day. So, we all say, oh, I have 24 hours or I have 78 years. And again, current life expectancy here in the United States, but hey, you're asleep for a third of that. So, and you need that recharge, you need that restore. But it's what can we do to maximize those 16 hours that we're awake every day? So what I do in the corporate world is I teach time management workshops. And a lot of the meat and potatoes of what I do is creating an ideal week. So by design, not a perfect week, but what would an ideal week look like for you? And it starts with evaluating, where you go into prioritization, being intentional. Oh my goodness, my thing is blowing up here. If she calls again, that is my wife. I will pick up on the second call. Everybody knows that. So we may need to take a pause because this is on the calendar, but let me see. Gotta love her profile picture there with the penguin. So yeah,
I do like the boing, boing.
Yes, yeah. It's you have to prioritize and you have to be intentional with how you're using your time. And if we're constantly reacting or leaving life up to random chance, it's either you set your priorities or somebody else does. So I really help people take control of their time, work on prioritization. This could be a 2-hour talk, literally, and get paid to do it. But you have to realize that priority for its first more than 500 years of use was a singular word. It was priority. And in the research, it wasn't until the early 1900s that priorities, plural, started to show up. Which I don't know about you, but I don't have a DeLorean and I can't end time. I don't have the time stone where I can turn things back and do it again. So no wonder we're all frantic and stressed out and overwhelmed. We're trying to cram more than one first thing. And, people talk a lot about things are lost in translation. I look at it as a lot of things get lost in transition of, if we're constantly shifting gears, it's super inefficient. We gotta stay focused. We gotta move forward. So real quick, Jen, I'm gonna pop quiz you, and anybody listening, feel free to put this in the comments. But if you were a school teacher and you were looking at yourself as a student, how would you grade your use of time? Do you get an A? Are you a B? Are you in middle of the road C? Do you need some improvement? Are you a dumpster fire? Like,
I'm pretty much a dumpster fire, I have to say.
Like,
I would love to say that I use my time efficiently. I just get it's the priorities thing, right? Like,
right.
There's like 5 things I have to do, and I'm not quite sure which I should do next. So I just end up trying to do all of them at once, and that never works.
Right. And how much time and energy do we spend thinking about the work or talking about the work or thinking about the work versus just sit down, set a timer for 20 minutes. All right, there's 5. I can either throw a dart at the wall or say, which of these is going to make the biggest impact and what's going to help the other 4, if that's feasible. Start that thing.
Or get the time stone. I'm down with
the time stone. Yes.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. So for all of our other Marvel fans out there, we're talking about Doctor Strange and the time stone, one of the Infinity Stones. So it's really important to be aware of how you're spending your time. So if you looked at, like, even today, so as we're recording this 2 in the afternoon, like, has the morning been just enough structure where you're productive and you don't feel micromanaged, or has it been random? Has it been, what's the day look like for you today?
Well, I got up and I went to yoga at 7, so I was pretty happy with myself with that one.
Yeah, prioritizing your health. Good, first thing. Love it.
Then I came home and made myself a very healthy breakfast and got ready for the day. And the problem is it's there. That I spend a lot more time than I should.
Okay.
But then, I got some work done on some book projects, so that was good. Probably less than I should have, but at least some. Okay. And then
here we are. Wonderful. Very nice. So it's good. And that's one thing that I talk about as well in the corporate world and with my clients is oftentimes we have these big complex problems. And the good news is that a lot of them require quite a simple solution. And one of the first things that I cover with everybody when it comes to, I'm stressed out, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough this. Are you sleeping enough? at high quality. So quality and quantity we look at as the first thing. Doesn't matter what you're dealing with, but if you can come at it rested, you're a much better chance of tackling that. So going to bed, staying asleep, getting quality night's sleep, there's all kinds of resources I can send people on that. But that is like the first thing. And then, are you hydrated? Are you taking care of your body? Do you have a water, right at arm's length pretty much at all times? Are you eating enough, not too much, not too little, real food? And are you moving your body? Check those 4 boxes, and then we'll start to tackle the other project, which is like, oh, wow. Yeah, doing that kind of helped make this a lot more manageable, or it completely fixed that problem.
Let my body run the way it's supposed to, and maybe everything else will be a little bit better. But those are the things that people tend to let go easy, quickest. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's a lot of what led me up to what I'm doing today and why. So I went to school for exercise science in Southern New Jersey at Rowan University, or Glassboro State, depending on how you reference that college. And I had a wonderful experience there. My degree was health promotion and fitness management. So I learned a lot about health promotion, stress management, lifestyle behavior change. I got into the corporate market for a little while, and I enjoyed that. I got some good experience, but it enabled me to get a job with a hospital system here in New Jersey. And for years, I worked with patients after cardiac rehab and physical therapy and the Center for Advanced Weight Loss, the gastric bypass. I need to lose 100 pounds or more. Massive surgery, very, very significant surgery. People can die on the table. It's not like a little thing like getting your tonsils out. It's serious. So, I got to help these patients for years. And, after a couple of years, I started to see, and I'm going to speak in the middle of the bell curve and broad stereotypes for a couple of minutes, but I saw a lot of people, the same kind of people, the same injuries, the same illnesses, over and over again. And I'm like, there must be a theme here. So I just started to get really curious with my patients, and I interviewed them. I had a lot of bedside manner, and I arrived there quickly, but in the spirit of time for this, I kind of grilled them on what is the root cause of what landed you here in my chair after physical therapy, after a cardiac event, after a knee replacement, after a major surgery where your organs were cut. And for so many of those people, it boils back to stress. And we're going to stay in the middle of the bell curve here. So for so many of those people, stress would come into our lives and we don't manage it, or we're afraid of it, or we mismanage it. We start to lose our sleep, and we wake up groggy in the morning with that snooze button. Again, I'm talking all the broad stereotypes here. And then for anybody listening, you can't see me doing finger quotes right now, and we need that 600 calorie coffee in the morning to get us going. We do. And then we hit the snooze button, so we didn't pack lunch. So then we run out to Burger King, come back, wolf that down, again, air quotes, food, steal 20 minutes of company time in the bathroom in the afternoon, go home, overeat because you haven't any nutrients all day, and then you, finger quotes again, need that red wine or sleeping pill or this, that, the next thing, rinse and repeat that for 20 years. And yeah, you're going to need a knee replacement because you've been carrying around 60 additional pounds. Yeah, you're going to have a cardiac event. So if you take control of your stress, then you can prevent all these problems from happening. So like when I finally had that light bulb and I realized I was dealing with people after they crashed over the waterfall, instead of being a little higher up the river, waving the sign to say, get the heck out of this river. There's a waterfall ahead if you keep going down this river. That's when I launched my coaching practice in 2013 to help people at stage 1 instead of stage 4. When, that's a massive amount of time. It's a massive amount of stress and money and pain that's preventable and avoidable. For so many people, if we look around, our basic behaviors every day add up with compound interest to what is our health and what affects our wealth. So if people aren't willing to pay attention to their health, many thousands of dollars worth of co-pays would be ahead of you if you don't pay attention to it now. So I got into the coaching realm, and that started to lead into speaking. So I had a friend down in the Maryland area, and his wife was in human resources. And she was talking with Tom one night over dinner about, we have so many of these preventable injuries on staff, pinched fingers, low back pain, knee injuries, things from people rushing, things from people making avoidable mistakes.
Mhm.
We should really bring somebody in to speak. We're starting to look for a speaker. So, well, my buddy Ryan grew up in construction and landscape and septic tanks, and now he does something with health and wellness. So let me talk to him. So he gave me a call one day, and I ended up getting on the phone with this company. And it was that perfect blend of, so I worked in construction landscape growing up, and then I had the exercise physiology behavior change background as well. So I understand that mentality of, I don't need somebody else to help me pick that up. And then you have a low back injury, you have a knee problem, you get injured, you keep eating or comfort eat, and you start gaining more weight. You gain more weight, guess what? You don't want to move. Then you gain more weight, you want to move even less. So like,
Yeah.
I want to help get people off this slippery slope. And for a lot of people, it's awareness. You don't think of the small decisions each day, but they really do add up. So I was able to go down and work with this company and 13 of their different sites over the course of an entire week. And it was wonderful. It was really engaging. And up until that point, like when I started to launch the speaking business, I don't know about you, but I've been to lots of different lectures and presentations where somebody talks at you for an hour or at you for 90 minutes. Wow, this was great, super motivating. And I got 4 pages of notes, and you never look at your notes and you never actually do anything during the presentation. So I said, well, I want to do much more of a workshop model where the people, I'm going to be interacting with the people. They're going to be doing some of my worksheets. I'm going to give you 10 minutes right now to start doing this activity. So that way that spark is there and we start some of that momentum. It was very well received. I said, well, I really enjoy this. So I wanted to start building that up. And, I went through the initial word of mouth and luck and realized quite quickly that's not a business model. So I said, well, what do I do for help? So I reached out to a couple of my friends that were entrepreneurs, and one of the resounding themes was, you need a website. I said, okay, I need a website. Put the Facebook status up, because that's how we get everything now. We're at 2017 in the story. And I
Mhm.
said, I need a website. So my friend said, well, I design websites and I do SEO. And I said, great, I will take you out to Panera Bread for anything that you want. And we'll talk about it. So we ended up going there, and she said, and again, we're 2017, Ryan, you really need to be involved with these Facebook groups. They're really becoming a big thing right now. And I said, I wasn't really the tech guy, back then. I wasn't super social media literate. So she grabs my laptop and she's, Ryan, you're in 3 Jeep groups, 2 Star Wars groups, and a hiking group. You're in great groups that are fun for you. And I just didn't know how they were set up, but you need to be something a little bit more business minded. So literally typed in speaker, coach, hit enter, sorted by groups. And the third one down was a speakers, authors, and coaches network. And I said, oh, cool. I'm 2 of those things. And at some point I want to write a book, join group. And about 2 weeks later, I got on the phone with the founder of that group, Jake Ballantyne. And he talked to me a little bit about where I was, where I wanted to go with the speaking, kind of gave me an idea of what was possible in the corporate world, which was wonderful and super exciting. And I said, well, now I get to help hundreds of people in the same time that it would take me to help 1 person or 4 people. So I said, I really want to grow this. So I took him on as my mentor. It was how to book more paid speaking engagements in 90 days. And I said, dang, that's a good program title with a timeline. Where do I sign up? So it was $1,200 at the time. And within 6 months, I turned that into $8,000 worth of booked work. And I said,
Wow.
I'm an exercise science guy. I'm not a math guy, but more, please. That's pretty good math. So I got involved with his Impact Academy and learned more about the marketing and the sales of it, really that bridge between you and the people that you want to help, which I didn't have any of that. Like, I could take your cholesterol, I could do blood pressure, I could teach other people how to take blood samples. I could do all kinds of different stretching and work with people after physical therapy, but marketing wasn't really my thing. So, he helped me take a look at my LinkedIn and understand, well, it's great you're talking about hydration on LinkedIn, but your ideal audience needs to hear that. Your ideal audience is not your ideal buyer. And up until that moment, I didn't even know those 2 things were things, because I didn't go to school for that. I didn't know that. So it was, again, wonderful awareness, which is where everything starts.
Right.
So, I got a lot of progress with that, moved up to his Mountaintop Mastermind program to get more of the individualized help once I got the foundation down. And it's been a wonderful progression, and I really enjoy it. I have shifted a little bit more in the wrapper and the systemization, because as I started to get more and more speaking engagements, I always had a time management component in there,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
time is the only finite resource, so things must exist within time, so that way they either happen or don't happen. So we have to prioritize our day in order to take care of our health and manage our stress and do all these different things that I was talking about. And after the fifth manager that said, can we bring you back again to talk more about that? And I said, all right, there's a theme here. So I kind of rebranded some of it around time management, came up with my own unique model of transformation, which is the EPIC time management system: evaluation, prioritization, intentionality, and consistency. So as long as you have those things and you're constantly going through those, you can better use your time. I decided to build a course, which I can give away to any of your listeners totally for free. And hey, I'm not even going to trade you your email address for it. It's on YouTube. So I can pop that into the comments below. One of the
Definitely.
things that I preach, I practice as well. How can you make it easier for the people that you want to serve? How can you make your own success easier? So I said, well, I'm in time management. People probably don't have 7 hours for a time management course. So I said, what if I make it 1 hour, where it's really a tip of the icebergs, get them to have some progress, get them to have, help and experience me as a speaker. And my hypothesis is people will have help. And then I can say, hey, do your coworkers need to hear this about your boss? Does he need some help with time management? Love the opportunity to come speak with your team. Put this out on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine on the planet, following Google. And I said, well, put it on YouTube and put it out there for free. It would really be nice to put this on like a Kajabi platform and sell it for $37 and complain for 2 years for selling 6 of them. Or I can just put it out there for awareness, because this is the stuff that I'm kind of repeating all the time. It's the top level stuff. So I want to put this out to the world. I want more people to know that I exist. I want more people to have some help and be able to go through a course in an hour and not have a 7-hour commitment to it, or, oh, it's $37. I feel this extra pressure. And then you need a different portal and a login and confirm it with your email address. And you have to go into your other email. I'm like, I just want it to be a one click where, here's my course, click, and the first video starts. So I'm happy to share that with all of your listeners, because every time somebody watches it, I save an hour, which is pretty cool. And you can pause it. And if I'm talking too fast, you can rewind it. I've fixed all the worksheets. Everything is just out there for the world. And so that was my hypothesis. And less than a month from launching that, I got booked to speak in front of a large group of people that can hire me. So it's all about putting your gifts out there to the world with a nice low barrier for entry, and the right people will raise their hand for more help. And a lot of this I've learned from Jake, and now Jake and I are business partners. We run the Impact Academy, where it's for people that are starting, restarting. Recalibrating has been a big word since March of 2020. So a lot of people are moving to the online space. We also have the Mountaintop Mastermind, which is more of the done with you, high touch, higher level peer group. And then we have the Rising Tide Connection, which is just for entrepreneurs that are 6 and 7 figures, to support each other, collaborate, audience swap, basically leverage, help each other. Because as you know, when you get to different levels of success, it comes with unique victories and unique stresses. It's kind of like people that have dogs get people that have dogs. People that have kids get people that have kids. There's nothing better or worse. It's just different. So, we love those communities. We love the people that are in there. So it's been a really wonderful journey. And then we get to help other people that were like struggling Ryan talking about hydration on LinkedIn, because the world needs to see what you do in a way that makes sense to them. So, I don't want to say that this is the Trojan horse, but that's kind of how marketing and advertising works. Like, you have to get their attention, you have to help them with their problem to a certain degree, and then you give them what they actually need, which, like I said before, for a lot of people is sleep, eat, move, and drink water. So, and then we can absolutely tackle everything else beyond that. And, upstairs, but we have to meet those basic needs. Then we can go after the more complex things. So that's been, some of the journey. It's been a wonderful adventure, helping people design kind of an ideal week for them of, what does the success sequence look like for you? what is your daily done list? Like, what are you going to get done every day? That's a non-negotiable standard for yourself. And that's something that's been really helpful in my life. So Jake actually gifted me tickets to a Tony Robbins event. Jen, have you ever been to one of those? The UPW?
I have not. I've listened to his tapes and all that stuff, read some books, but
yeah, he's been around for a while. The stuff is incredible, and it's always evolving as well. So he actually gifted me tickets to a virtual version of that in March of this year. And my biggest takeaway was raising my own standards for myself to excellent. And again, by design, not perfect. And lowering my expectations of others and outcomes and different things, essentially to zero. I think a lot of us, and I was guilty of this too, we spend a lot of time focusing on the things that we can't control and very little time on the things that we can control. So if we can invert that, our lives are drastically different. Because it's all about evolution. For anybody watching, I'm going to throw out, it'd be funny if we recorded this on a Throwback Thursday, but in a previous chapter of Ryan's life, I worked at Blockbuster Video. Rewind. An entire industry that went essentially poof overnight because they were unwilling to evolve. Multiple offers to purchase Netflix, and when it first came out, it's kind of crazy to count the years now, but I was actually working there, as a part-time job when Netflix was just starting, and we're gonna mail movies to your house. And we had a staff meeting, and I'll never forget, my manager on the whiteboard wrote Netflix. It was so new, she spelled it incorrectly. It was Netflix, and just put the entire video rental industry out of business, which is incredible when you think about, again, that simplicity. Do I drive to the store, search for what I want? Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm going to get home and it's scratched. I stand in line and buy $5 worth of gummy bears that I don't need. And then there's time scarcity to get it back to the video store versus click. Just like my course. It's, just make it easier for people. Click. Think about the environmental impact of somebody driving. And that was right when gas was super expensive. The environmental impact of driving to a video store and driving back for a piece of plastic that was created halfway around the world on a plastic disc, in a plastic box, in a plastic bag, shipped all the way over here for somebody to watch once, or a few different times it was rented over and over again. So evolution is definitely big in my life, and the ideal week is always under an idea and always evolving as well. So for me, I do management Mondays, where I manage myself, my projects, my different things that I'm working on. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm available for speaking engagements, sales calls, masterminds, workshops, all kinds of different things like that. And then Friday is just dedicated to follow-up, because for anybody that's an entrepreneur listening, follow-up is everything. A perfect person is not perpetually around the corner. They're probably here. I've already talked to them. You just need to continue talking to them, continue helping them, and then the right person will raise their hand at the right time. So, that's what it looks like for me. And that was my initial hypothesis was, the quality of our life really depends on the quality of the questions that we ask other people, but more importantly, the questions we ask ourselves, kind of that internal monologue going on. It can be, Jedi Master Yoda, or it can be a gremlin. You get to decide, what is that internal talk? So the question that I kept asking myself was, where can I reduce the randomness? How can I reduce the randomness a little bit in my life to make success a little easier, to make happiness and health a little bit easier for myself? So my hypothesis is people are manic on Mondays and burned out by Fridays. So what if I double down on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? So for me, running my own business, I actually start every Monday morning out in nature. And you and I are Facebook friends. You've probably seen some of this. So either going out for a hike or a kayak or a bike. And it doesn't have to be all day. It doesn't have to be in the Grand Canyon. It can be somewhere around here. And I live less than 2 hours from New York and Philadelphia. So it's not like I have, New Zealand Lord of the Rings status mountains around here. But it's still something. And, when I fill up my cup first, then everybody gets the best version of Ryan. I prep for all my appointments for the week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm in it. And then Fridays, it's all about follow-up, taking care of myself, taking care of the different things. And it just helps to not go all the way to exhaustion. Like people are going to get a lot better version of you if you gas back up when you're an eighth of a tank, instead of like running on fumes and be like, I don't know, I might just, I might forget everything, especially if you do anything with sales. You have to come to work rested. You can't come to work hungover. You have to be sharp for yourself, to be sharp for those that you want to serve. So that's been really, really helpful for my life, was designing an ideal week. For me, that works. It's not a micromanaged day. It's not an overwhelming month. It's like, yeah, I could plan out a week and like give myself 80% as a wild success and plan for 20% of chaos and randomness and adventure, which I find when I switch it to the word adventure, it definitely helps.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. If anybody's interested in learning more, I can give you that course absolutely for free. It's out there on YouTube, and it's been a fun adventure, and I'm excited to see where it's going.
That's so exciting. I love it. I love adventure rather than chaos, although chaos is kind of fun every once in a while.
Right. It happens. It's part of life, and if we embrace it and expect it instead of just react to it when it happens, and it's going to happen, then we're like, we can roll with it. For those people listening, there's probably somebody in your life that it's like things just seem to happen easier for them, and they don't seem to get upset by the little stuff that they can't control. Oh wait, they can't control it, so they're not getting upset by it. That's their secret.
That's their secret.
That's their secret.
Get that.
So it's been a fun adventure. I get to do the corporate stuff. I get to help message-driven entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, coaches, podcasters, like get clear on who they want to help, get their gift out to the world in a bigger way. We have an incredible support community. There's 12,000 members of the Speakers, Authors, and Coaches Network. So come hang out over there.
It's pretty awesome.
There, I met Jennifer through the Speakers, Authors, and Coaches Network. And it's a great place to get and give support and meet other people. It's actually a global Facebook group. We have a lot of friends, mostly here in the US, a lot of Canadian friends, Australian friends.
That's right.
Every time zone, which is cool.
No, I've been on a couple of the meetings, and you always get like Australian people.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes Liam is eating his Cheerios as I'm like ready for bed.
That's awesome. Oh my God. Thank you so much. So if people want to get in touch with you, Ryan, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So what I can do is put the link here for my course. So you can go there to learn more. I am on LinkedIn, Ryan Dunphy, D as in dog, U, N as in Nancy, P as in Patrick, H-Y. No, we are not related to the Dunphys on Modern Family, but yes, it is spelled the same way. You'll also find that there are 4 or 5 Ryan Dunphys with beards and blue shirts on LinkedIn, AKA my variants, who are actually real people. But my profile picture is consistent on Facebook and LinkedIn, and actually on all the platforms to make it just a little bit easier. And so it's the light blue shirt with my big goofy smile on there. That's the Ryan Dunphy you're looking for, with the pine trees in the background. So I'm on LinkedIn. If anybody listening to this is in human resources or runs a sales team or anything, I'd love to have a discussion about helping your team with a workshop. I'll put my Calendly link there if anybody wants to do a virtual cup of coffee or raspberry hibiscus tea via Zoom. I'd be happy to do that. To see how I can help. Happy to give as many resources as I can. If you wanted to share that whole course with your whole team, feel free to do that as well. And if anybody is looking for help building their business or looking for a higher level peer group, we have incredible programs for entrepreneurs out there to make the world a better place, which seem to be like you, the people that follow you. So if you are looking to join the Avengers of Entrepreneurship, we have an incredible mastermind for that too.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan, for spending your time here. This has just been perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're very welcome, Jen. And are you up for a quick exercise?
Of course I am.
Okay. So when we talked about the grading your time, where are you? What letter are you at?
It's D for dumpster fire.
D for dumpster fire. Okay. What are 2 or 3 things that you could do to move that up to a D+ or a C?
Keep my sleep-in schedule like firm. I do have one. I don't always stick to it. So I
Okay.
think if I can go to bed and get up at the same time and do my like bedtime routine and morning routine, I
Mhm.
think that would make everything go much more smoothly.
Great. What time do you get up, Jen?
Lately it's between either
What
6 or
time would
7.
you like to get up
I
every
would
day?
like to get up at 6 o'clock every morning. It
That's
usually is between 6:30 and 7:30. It depending on
okay.
when I have yoga.
Okay. So grab your phone real quick, Jen.
Where did it go? Oh, it's way over there.
Way over there.
Way
All
over
right.
there.
Or you can write this down. So
I'm gonna write it
8:30
down.
p.m., I want you to set up an alarm on your phone. And it just says, turn all the screens off and start to relax. So I know you're a reader. You can grab a physical book. You can grab a magazine. You can do something. Maybe you do an evening yoga routine. Maybe you get your food ready for the next day. You set out that, wooden tray. Like, why wait until we're at a hotel to treat ourselves like amazing? Like, give yourself
Aw.
that little wooden tray of things to prepare you for the morning. Fill up your water, get the coffee machine ready if you're into that. Do some of those different things. So that way at 10 o'clock, you're actually asleep. Not,
Right.
ooh, it's 10 o'clock. I should probably start to get ready to go to bed. And
That's
then before
pretty
you
much
know it,
what
it's
happened.
11:30. So why do so many of us have alarms first thing in the morning, but we don't have a reminder in the evening to start to turn some of the screens off, to start to relax?
Mm.
So if you set that parameter at the end of the day, set a healthy boundary for yourself. Say, okay, I'm going to get a gentle reminder, and please pick a fun ringtone, not at the end of the evening, something that's going to
So
help you to start to
terrible.
relax. And that way you rest and you're ready to tackle the next day. Because if we start the day tired, it's like we're on that slippery slope already.
I have one alarm set. That's my voice telling me to go brush my teeth.
I love that. That's awesome. You're gonna have to teach me how to
Occasionally
do
Jennifer
that. I don't know
Coleman.
how to do that. Yeah, we'll
But
do another cup of coffee next week, and you please teach me how to do that, because I would
that
love
would be
to be able to
fun.
teach you.
It gets your attention. You're like, whoa. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
time to go brush my teeth. But
that is
turning the
fun.
screens off, that's a big deal. That's a hard thing for me.
Yeah, and
But
they're designed to hijack our attention. There's a reason that the notifications on your app are bright red. So
right.
your eyes go right to it. So
Bastards.
they have, it's incredible what they can do, and God, it's incredible what they can do at the same
Yeah.
time. So we have to be aware of that. So Jen, what is your priority? So if you had to pick a singular priority for tomorrow, is Wednesday, what is the one top thing?
So it's always between working on the books that I have for my clients and finding more clients.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I think tomorrow's kind of a finding my clients day.
Okay. So that is the priority of, I'm going to be in growth gear.
Growth gear.
And when you just decide that you're in growth gear, what can you do to stay intentional with that? Are you going to set a timer? Are you setting a specific time of day to do that? What can you do to maximize your intentionality in the growth gear?
I think setting specific times of day, and then probably setting a timer, like you said.
Yeah.
To be like, I have this new thing on my phone. It's like a plant a forest tree thing. Like if you're not allowed to touch your phone for like however long you decide.
Oh, interesting.
And then it's really cool. I think it's called Forest. And eventually, if you get enough, they actually go and plant a tree for you in real life.
Look at you, saving time and saving the world at the same time. There you go.
Yeah. So like
Okay.
that makes me put my phone down. So that's really good. But like a timer for working, that'd be good.
There you go. Absolutely. And especially for the entrepreneurs listening, you want to be your best employee, because if you're all the employees, you are the best employee and the worst employee. So you need to figure out, like, where is that average?
That's a good point.
Would you fire somebody that worked the hours that you work? Would you fire somebody that you put in the quality that you put in? I'm not asking you this question, Jen, it's for the listener. And then in the spirit of consistency. So again, we just walk right through the system, evaluation, prioritization, intentionality, and consistency.
Consistency.
Is this something that you would like to do like Monday through Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? Like, how can you do this moving forward?
I know that I need to work on consistency. That's a linchpin for me. I think that I need to work on. I like your ideal week, the management
Finding
Mondays and
something
the
like
follow-up
that.
Fridays. I'm not sure
Right.
if I can make that work for me, but
Well,
that
it's you,
sounds like
you
a
would be
really
creating
smart,
your own version of it. That's just my
right, my own
example.
version of it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right. Well, I'm going to point to 3 different resources then, especially for you and anybody else. I can put the links to these if you're interested. This is Brendon Burchard's High Performance Planner. It has, again, I love the simplicity of this. 1 page is for the morning and 1 page is for the evening. So you're going to go through here and set your intention for the day. What is the message to yourself? What needs to get done? And it's not a massive time-intensive project. The neat thing about this is, like, he put his 25 or 30 years of research into one planner meets a journal hybrid. It's $15 on Amazon. So you can do qualifiable and quantifiable. You can actually score it, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that would
recommend
help.
this in all of my workshops, and usually give away a few for free when we can be live in person. It's so nice. Hand somebody a physical book. And then I'll also point to these 2 resources, Essentialism and Effortless by Greg McKeown, as I'm covering his name with my hand. So Essentialism is essentially minimalism, but for your brain. How do you focus on the essential things? And then its follow-up is Effortless. And it's all about how can you make those essential things a bit easier for yourself and for others, and how can you make them a little bit of fun? So one of my favorite examples he uses in this book is he went away on a business trip, came back to 25 voicemails on his phone, and all of those were going to lead to more opportunities, which was great. But 25 voicemails can be a lot of work. Again, air quotes for anybody just listening. So he said, how can I make this easier? How can I make it more fun? So he grabbed a notebook, a physical notebook with a pencil, jumped in his hot tub, and went through his 25 voicemails, taking all these notes, called the people back and said, hey, I'm calling you back from my hot tub. Like, just made it fun, but it was an essential thing that needed to happen. So how can you blend like those essential things with things that you enjoy? So for me, I just actually did a 2022 planning session in the Delaware Water Gap hiking next to waterfalls, and sounds like it was out of a movie, but two bald eagles went over my head. Like, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
If you're intentional with how are you doing those essential things and blending them with some fun, number 1, they're going to happen. Number 2, it's going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah, fun.
Which is why, how many people listening, have you ever gone to a coffee shop and you're like, oh man, it just smells like productivity in here. Like, I can just sit here and like, I can study here, but it's a challenge at home. So
yeah, it is
finding out what works for each individual person. There's how many billions of people on this planet, and there's no one perfect system, which is why I try to teach a framework of this ideal week to design a success sequence for you that's sustainable for you over time, that plans in some of that randomness, plans in some rewarding yourself. Is another thing I talk about in the corporate world, but it's actually selfish not to take care of yourself. Which, when we start to wrap our heads around that, it's like, dang, he's right. So you don't take care of yourself, then you're going to be fully dependent upon other people. And again, I saw a lot of that working with the people after physical therapy and cardiac rehab. Active go-getter leader kind of people of, I can take the weight of the world on my shoulders, and then boom, you have your knee blow out and you're dependent upon everybody else for everything. So it's actually selfish.
So true.
Yourself.
So true. Yeah. One thing I found has worked for me recently is going to the library to get work done.
Yes. Yep.
That works nicely for anybody out there.
Into a specific space where, and this is really helpful for me. So I'm talking to you from a co-working space that I rent, a 12 by 12 office. So that way, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I can work from here and stay fully focused. And there's no dishes to do. There's no vacuuming. There's no, my son's bucket of Legos is over there. Maybe I'll just take a 20-minute break real quick. My Star Wars action figures from when I was a kid are, wait, is Boba Fett's hand missing? And then like the next thing you know, it's an hour later. So having an intentional physical space, there's a lot of power in that mindset.
Yeah,
So
no, it's so
some
true.
people, I know when the pandemic was first hitting, I was recommending to some people, go sit in your car, go for a drive, and you park a quarter mile from home and sit there and do what you need to do. I run part of my business off a Wi-Fi hotspot, so I can set up a Wi-Fi network anywhere I am. So I could go up in the mountains, far away from the office, and tether my laptop and my phone to that, so I can still have access to everything I need to do, essentially out of a backpack, which is pretty cool because we couldn't do that like 30 years ago.
No,
Um,
seriously, or even like
these are all new
20 or
gifts.
10 years ago.
Right,
It's so
absolutely.
cool. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, changing environment. I've found it since COVID started, working from home is tough sometimes.
right. And it was a very unique distinction because I think a lot of us always asked for and wanted more time with the family and more time at home, but we got all the time at home,
Yeah.
all the time with the family, which is different from more on our terms versus this is what happened. This is an external event that happens. This is a biological problem, and that could be a 4-hour discussion in itself. But like everything changed, and in the course of a week,
I
or less
know.
than a week.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been, if we look at things as a wonderful adventure every single day and we plan for some of that randomness, I think it's a lot more realistic. I find that I get a lot more done in a lot less time when I use that ideal week framework. So that way I have enough room for the things I want to do, the things I need to do, and there's that healthy balance. And so there's one more thing. I want to respect everybody's time here as well. One of my clients a few years ago was really trying to chase work-life balance, big time. He was constantly frustrated with that. Terrible work-life balance, and like really beating himself up. So I said, well, Joe, how do you define work-life balance?
Right.
So I always get to the office 15 minutes early, and that's what my manager expects, and that's always what I've done. I always get there 15 minutes early, and so that way I can leave right at 5 o'clock. And I'm never out of there at 5. Sometimes it's 5:05, sometimes it's 5:30. One day it was like 6 o'clock last week, and I said, well, okay, it's helpful to understand this, evaluate. So you have this expectation of leaving at 5 p.m. every day. Do you bring your phone to work? Yeah. Do you have Facebook or Instagram or anything on your phone? Yeah. Do you have texting on your phone? Yeah. Do you ever touch base with your wife? Yeah. Your kids? Yep. Do you know what your college roommate had for breakfast today? Yeah, it's really cool looking oatmeal with the cinnamon sprinkled on top. So we started talking about it. And I said, well, Joe, we're now in an interesting time where the days of Fred Flintstone getting to the quarry, and then the whistle blows at 5 o'clock and you slide off the back of your brontosaurus into your kettle truck and you get home and you're either at work or at home, like that's gone. And I realized in that moment that it needs to be a work-life synergy, because we bring family home. We also oftentimes bring family to work, and we need to understand that sometimes work will extend a little bit past 5 o'clock, or sometimes we need to do a project, and that's okay as long as it's a two-way street and there's communication there. So I think a lot of people get caught in the language of they're trying to chase work-life balance as a static point where I'm standing now on one leg and there's lots of small movements that need to happen in order for me to be still and be balanced. So let's get away from
That's a good analogy.
static point, which isn't realistic, to what does an appropriate work-life synergy look like?
I like that. I like that synergy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. Standing on one foot, but little tiny motions, like
hundreds of small motions.
Stay balanced.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Awesome. So, I was just trying to debate whether or not I should bring up another concept, but we're getting late.
Yeah, I think we're good. And I'm actually gonna be picking my son up from kindergarten soon.
Okay, well, good. So then this is a good place for us to put the pause button, and maybe you can come back sometime. We can talk more.
I would love that. Very nice. Awesome. And thank you to all of the guests. I'm sure I'll be able to see you in the comments a little bit later. Again, let's give Jen some love in there. She's amazing for hosting all these different things. If anybody wants to talk about a corporate speaking engagement, I'd be happy to do that. I'll put my Calendly link there. We'll do a virtual cup of tea. If you'd like my YouTube course, I'll put that in there as well. If you're a speaker, author, coach, podcaster, message-driven entrepreneur, or hey, I'd like to do that at some point, come join the Speakers, Authors, and Coaches Network. I'll put that link in too.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody else out there, remember, we all have a story to tell. So what's yours?